How's it going, traders? My name is Matthew Monaco, also known as Mono Trader, both on Twitter and in the Tim Challenge chat room. Mono_trader, that's my username. But I'm just going to do a quick recap for June 2020, which was my best month ever. In that month, I made just over $93,000, which is mind-boggling to me. It's double basically my previous best month, which was May 2020, where I made around $48,000. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, honestly, going into those months, like I wasn't expecting to make that much money. I was prepared, and the market, there was just a ton of opportunities out there, and I was willing to take advantage of them. I was in front of the markets every day, and I sized up when the time was right. I think I did a great job, in my opinion, of really sizing into plays that I'm comfortable with. I'm a solely long bias trader. Lately, I've been kind of dipping my toe on the short side, but very small size, very small risk, still just focusing on long trades because as long as there's just these opportunities continue, I don't see a reason really to force it, move over to the short side because currently there's a ton of long trades every day. Seems like every day there's at least 2 or 3 really good A plus setups out there that I can take advantage of. And I've been working on sizing into them, bigger size. With that obviously comes more risk. This month, I had a couple larger losses than I'm used to, but well within, my system, especially as I was sizing up. Going forward, I do want to do a better job of kind of honing those in because some of them, I'll go over one like FCEL. It was over $3,000, which was just way too much. Kind of let my ego get in the way there. But I took that loss towards the beginning of the month, and it led me to focus, reset, and continue the month strong. I ended June 30th was my best day. Ended the month wicked strong with CYDY panic. And that was my biggest trade ever. I posted that one on Twitter. I made a little over $11,000 throughout the day on that one. On the specific trade, I think one was a $10,000 trade on that huge dip buy. I'll go over a couple trades in a minute, but just focusing on this chart, I want to, remind people once again, like it takes some time. This is my 3rd year in the challenge. If you look at my 1st year, like I basically lost a bunch of money. I was a freshman. I didn't have a ton of money, so I just kept studying and then kind of worked my way up, worked some freelance jobs and got my account back and started trading again towards the end of 2018. I missed a ton of opportunity there, but I just wasn't ready. Didn't really have a big enough account or enough money to take it seriously. And then for basically the entire 2019, I grinded. I was profitable, but pretty much sideways, like a couple $100 months, $1,000 month. My best month of 2019 was June 2019. I made like $3,000 in June 2019. Since then, 2020, like I kind of found my stride, and I've been mixing it up. Like I found a consistency in the beginning with OTC breakouts. They're not that common. I mean, you might get one a week if you're lucky. When I say the market's hot, I mean I'm mostly talking about listed stocks. So I made it a focus 2020 to really start trying in those strategies. And I sized in really small in the beginning. And then January 2020, I actually was red a couple $100. And then from there, it's just gone exponential as I got comfortable with the strategies, slowly sized up, and the opportunities have still been there. So looking at my profit lead, just again, here's $93,000 for the month of June 2020. And looking at the stats specifically, I mean, like I said, this was my FSEL trade. I lost over $3,000 on it. That's too big. But my biggest trade was on CYDY, which was 3 times my biggest loss still, which is something I like to see. And as I was saying, a lot of my trades are long biased. I was profitable, basically $2,000 shorting. I mean, that's really good for just really starting to dip my toe into it. I'm going to be opening a short broker going forward, but as long as the long trades are there, that will be my focus every day. I'm not going to try to short over longing, especially when I'm so comfortable longing. And then, so my long trades. And overall, my win percentage was 65%. As Tim Sykes says, you don't need to win all the time. I'm really comfortable around 65%. I'd love to get it higher, trying to be more picky. I do tend to overtrade a little bit. But that's just part of learning and growing. And as you get more experience, I think I'll be able to hone that in, hopefully get that win percentage up near 70%. But if not, like my profit factor was basically 3, meaning for every trade I took, my winners were 3 times bigger than my losers, which is awesome. Exactly what you want. Had an average trade profit of $350. That counts losers. And my average winning trade was $820. which is absolutely awesome. And that goes with sizing up. I was risking, starting this month, about 300 bucks trade. And then as the profits grew, my confidence grew, I upped it to 500. And then towards the end of the month, there were a couple of trades like MYOS. I was willing to risk closer to $1,000 on that trade. And I took multiple entries, sized into it. We're going to, as long as the volume's there, I'm going to keep doing that and be comfortable. And just when the A+ setups come along and I'm like the position and the story of the stock, how much volume it's trading, I will look to continue to risk that much. So hopping over to TraderView, I use this in addition to Profitly. It gives some cool charts, helps me with my executions. I use eTrade Pro, and they don't have the best executions on the chart, but this is a breakdown of my month. Day by day, I had 3 red days, which is great. I mean, this one's basically a scratch $158 loss. And then we had a $1,400 and $2,500 loss, which is great. My average green day was a little over $4,000 this month. So when my biggest red day was only 2,500, that's awesome. That's what you want to see. And, as long as your winners are consistently bigger than your losers, it's a recipe for success here. And I had 3 5-figure days on the 8th, 17th, and 30th. First time ever being over 5 figures profit on the day was the 8th for me. And that just goes with what I was saying. I was trading bigger, the setups were there, and that was really awesome. And I was glad I was able to do it 2 more times and just really end the month on a strong note. So I'm going to jump into some trades. Again, super long bias trader. I want to start with CHAP, which was the beginning of the month. Started on June 5th, and I swung it over the weekend into the 8th here, it was a big contributor to my $11,000 day there. This was when oil stocks were running. So sympathy play. We've had a couple great sectors in June. We had oil. Electric vehicles are currently running, still running, and coronavirus. There's been a ton of great sector momentum, which is awesome. 2019, in my opinion, I was kind of a new trader then, but there wasn't a ton of sector momentum. Like if you go back and look at 2018 when the weed stocks were running, or 2017 when Bitcoin was running and Roland Wolf was really going to start. Sector momentum was a huge part of that. So this was my trade. You'll see here, I noticed oil stocks were running. I'll pull this up on a 1 minute bigger. And I started into it and I sold. And that first trade here gave me some confidence. The oil sector continued to run. I bought back, but then I got nervous. Swing trading is not my forte. Most of my profits are made from the open to the close. And then swing trading, I haven't been able to figure out which ones are the best gappers. But I've seen a ton of sector momentum. I've seen the power of gaps. So I bought into the close on Friday, swung it over the weekend. I ended up selling pre-market here. There's no pre-market data. And then played it one more time. I thought it was going to go higher on this high day break here. But when you have multiple stocks running like CHAP, OAS, WLL, VAL, pull up those charts. They all ran at the same time. You'll see they all gapped on the same day. And that was as oil was rebounding. It's one of the things I've really been focusing on. It's tough to pick which sympathy plays are going to be better than others. My criteria basically is the ones trading the best volume, and if any of them have news. And in my opinion, leaders a lot of the times do better than the followers. So try to focus on those ones and the ones that everyone's looking at. Don't try to pick a unicorn or a diamond in the rough there. Moving on to FSEL. I want to talk about this one. It's my biggest loss. Be fully transparent about it. It was happening at the beginning of the month. This was taken on June 10th. So if we go back to that calendar, I started on the 10th and the 11th. And I actually, even with this trade, ended green on the 11th, despite a $3,500 loss on FSEL. So this one was a huge multi-day breakout. If you look at the daily chart here, I'll pull up the daily chart. $3, $2.80. $2.80 was really the level, and then $3 a whole round number I was looking at. And it was holding up into the afternoon. If I pull up the 5-day, really well. I started on it, took a small loss midday. Sometimes stocks don't behave as you expect, so always be prepared to cut those losses quickly. But as it double bottomed, held up into the afternoon, I was looking to swing it, and I took some good size, and I wanted to swing it. And this is, kind of what I was saying. I'm not the best at picking swings. I was up, good 25 cents, about 10% on this trade, especially after hours. And then it pulled back really severely after hours. If you go look at this chart, and I should have cut my loss quickly. I should have got out. I could have gotten out for break even very, very easily. but I was determined. I fell in love with the daily chart, and I thought it was going to gap up and be another great trade. I was overconfident because of May, and going into that month of June, I started out really good. So I just held it. I held on to the loser, and the next day it gapped down, and I tried to fight it. I added at the open, and then eventually just was clear as day. I was like, I can't take a loss this big. It's clearly not doing what I expect, and I got out for that $3,500 loss. And it took me longer than it should have to get to my senses. But a good thing I did, because it would have been, $5,000-$6,000 if I would have held on to it for the rest of the day. So, going forward, say I risk $500 on a trade, I'm making sure I cut that trade at $500. I don't want it to balloon into $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 loss, because that is how you ruin really good months, by taking losses that are too big. Thankfully, there was a ton of opportunities in June, and I was able to more than overcome this loss, but it's not a good habit to fall into, and you can't always expect the market to be as hot as it was in June. So if you keep those losses small, you're just setting yourself up for success by not letting the losers wipe out multiple days, multiple weeks, maybe even a month worth of gains. I did that back in February. I traded a stock, fell in love with it, held it, and took a huge loss. And at the time, erased several weeks of gains. I talked about it on an interview I had with Tim Sykes, so make sure you go check that out. But it's a lesson I learned, and I'm glad I stuck with it. And even though this one was a big loss, it still wasn't as big as the loss I took on it in February. And I've carried that lesson with me, and I'm not going to forget it, as 2020 continues. Last trade I want to talk about was OZSC, which was an OTC breakout. These, like I was saying, are not super common, but when they are clear as day, like this OTC breakout was, I'll pull up a daily chart. Maybe this hourly looks better. You can clearly tell that 2.6, 2.5 area was a breakout. So OTCs, when they break out, they're trading good volume, I am more comfortable swinging because there's no pre-market or after-hour trading. So I don't need to watch it for 4 hours after the close and then wake up wicked early, 4 a.m. and watch all pre-market action, because I know I can look at this. I have a full-time job, so I like to do work in the morning and then try to get some trades in as long as the market, has the opportunities. So these type of swings are much better for my personality, my schedule, my situation, because I can't even sell it till 9:30 at E-Trade. You can use ARCA on OTC's pre-market, but I wouldn't recommend it. The volume, you usually can't get out of your position in the first place. So I like this one. I looked at it, 9 o'clock, saw the gap after I took that position. OTCs, important thing to note is that fundamentals do not matter as much. You're strictly looking at technicals, volume. If there's news, even better. So it was a clear technical breakout. I bought it. Looking at, we'll do a 1 minute here. Looking at a 1 minute, I bought it, and then it gapped like 20-30%. And anytime an OTC gaps like that, I will absolutely lock in right at the open. Not my whole position, but at least half, and that's what I did here. I locked in half of it because you don't know which gaps are going to hold and which ones are just going to erase the gain. So if hypothetically, this would have just slammed back to yesterday's close, I want to make sure I lock in at least half my position into the gap, because then I can always add back, which is exactly what I did. There was about 2-3 minutes of selling out of the open, and then there was a clear shift in level 2 where buyers started stepping up. And I tried to buy my full size back, but I only filled, about half of what I was looking to get. So I sold into the gaps here. And at that point, I was very happy with the trade. Exactly what I wanted. Got out into the morning spike. And then it started going sideways again. This little ascending triangle here, slash, flag, if you want to call it that. So after it pulled back, a higher low compared to this one, we have a low here, another higher low. And as it was testing that 3.94 cent level, I was getting interested in it again because I thought this could go substantially higher. So I started nibbling, and then we had another higher low, and that's a great sign for me because now I can move up my risk, be more confident, and take some more size on the trade. And if you notice, it was trading great volume. This is 1 minute, and there's multiple candles where it's trading over 5 million shares in a minute. So you can take, plenty of size on this. And that's what I did. I took it, And then it broke out over that morning 30 minutes trading session and spiked to new highs. And I just got out. I kind of had a scout mentality on this because I bought my first shares like at 2.5 cents, and I was buying these shares at 4. So it's kind of tough to just be taking super massive size and looking to hold when your first entry was 50% ago. So nice little wallet pad here, another 10-15% on this trade. And yeah, that is all you need to do. I mean, if this was my only trade on the month, it was beautiful. And I mean, the opportunity was there, and it was one of my best executed trades from start to finish. I'm very proud of it. Great entries, great exits. And yeah, I didn't pick the bottoms. I didn't sell the tops, but I took a large portion of the move. And that's all you got to do. You don't have to be perfect as a trader. And rarely are my executions perfect. I mean, this is probably the closest I've come. So that is my monthly recap. Closing in on 200,000. As July has opportunities, there's a good chance I'll pass it, but I'm not focusing on that. Not focusing on the profits, taking it one day at a time and seeing what the market gives you. Because, usually summer trading is a lot slower. I witnessed 2019 summer trading with Jack. I watched his journey, and it was wicked slow. It was brutal. So, I mean, that's kind of the mentality I went in with this summer. And so far, it's just been hot. So every day that we have opportunities is a blessing, and looking to take advantage of it. If anyone has any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. Again, MonoTrader, MONO_trader. That's me. If you see anyone else without this profile, that's not me. Just make sure it's my account. Feel free to tweet at me, and I make sure to respond to everyone, tweet back, give my thoughts, feedback. But yeah, here's to a great July 2020. I'd love to see another strong month. Let's make it happen. Cheers, everyone.